Good morning. This morning I'm going to talk to you about wells. So, about 5 years ago, we've been in this house a little over 6 years. About 5 years ago, we replaced the pump on our well because those things can go out, right? And you quickly realize how important water is to daily living. Well, a few weeks ago, not even 6 years later, our pump went out again, and you turn on the faucet and there's no water. So I had been thinking about wells somewhat lately. And of course, then there's wells in the sense of when somebody says, "How are you doing?" And you might say, "Well, I'm not doing so well," or "I'm doing very well, thank you." So wells can have a lot of different definitions. It can be an adjective, meaning in good health. It can be a verb, if someone, the feeling or doing, showing the action, doing well. It can be a supply. It can be a saying. Sometimes people will say, "Well, well, well." Now, it can be a noun. It can be an actual thing. So it can be something that's in the ground. But I was thinking a lot about wells this morning, and there are actually kind of, sort of, some hymn references to wells as well. It's just how my brain works. Now you're probably going to be focusing on how many times I say "well" in this conversation. So a little bit of a backstory. I'm a homeschooling mother of 5. I have some ongoing health difficulties. I had pituitary brain surgery in November of 2019. I ended up with under other underlying things. I have adrenal insufficiencies. I'm on steroids daily for that. But lately, it just seems like my body's just been struggling to recover, and I feel like I'm on repeat with my doctors and my physical therapist or whoever. I feel like I'm chasing rabbits. So, anyways, it's just a process of thinking, when somebody asks you how you're doing, if you can say it as well. So, I was also thinking about a town crier. We hear about town criers and how they're like 1 o'clock and all is well, 2 o'clock and all is well, 4 o'clock and all is well. I know I skipped the 3. But, anyways, can we say it is well with my soul? And as Christians, we should be able to, regardless of our circumstances. Paul talked about whatever state he was in to be able to find contentment. It wasn't necessarily a physical state like we think of, when I say physical, I mean like a state like Colorado or Florida or Georgia or something like that, but just like a state, like state of mind, state of being. I don't know. So, anyways, and then of course there's the song "It Is Well With My Soul," when it says, "Though Satan should buffet, let this blessed assurance control that Christ hath regarded my helpless estate as given his own self for my soul." So we can say it is well with my soul. And there's actually a really interesting backstory on that too, about the guy that wrote "It Is Well With My Soul." So I was also thinking about the saying, "All's well that ends well." And we know the ending. We know that it will be well and that it will be worth it all when we see Jesus, and that life's trials will seem so small when we see Christ. So I was thinking about the verse that says, "Our light affliction, which is but for the moment, works in for us a far more eternal and exceeding weight of glory." You might have to look up that reference. I'm sorry I didn't have it written down. So I was also wanting to ask you the question, can you see the well? We will be satisfied as we are filled to overflowing. So I think of the well as like if you live in the country, or if you have a pump, when you pump it and you fill the bucket, not only does it fill the container that you're pumping into, but it will often overflow. And so if it is well with us, and if our cups have been filled, then we should be able to overflow into the lives of others. So there's kind of a joke. It's like my husband's favorite joke, okay? It's kind of silly, but I think it applies to this conversation. And it says, "Why did the man fall into the well?" Well, he couldn't see that well. So, if we can't see the well, if I can't see the well in my life, if I can't see the goodness of God, and I start focusing on all the circumstances that I have going on health-wise, or just overwhelmed, then I'm going to fall into the figurative well. you know, the well that I can't see. That's just like more of the pit illusion. So it's kind of interesting how many different definitions or references the word well can have, isn't it? So I think I'm going to definitely think about the word well now in a different light and everything that it can mean. But of course, we think also about the story of the woman at the well, and it's just the idea of being satisfied. Like, I'm satisfied with what God's given. I'm satisfied with my circumstances, and so it can be well with my soul.